Bitter Work. That's the name of this episode. And this is not Bitter Work because I like talking about this show. This episode here is the one where you got Aang trying to learn how to earthbend. And at the same time, you got Zuko trying to learn how to master lightning. Him and his uncle have hooked back together again. Not like in a relationship. Well, okay, technically they're related, but you know what I mean. So his uncle is teaching him how to essentially bend lightning, for lack of a better term. I think before I call electricity, which sort of kind of not really lightning, you know. So you got these two learning sort of their opposites, which I like. You know, there's something they obviously push a lot is that Aang and Zuko live very parallel lives, and they learn similar things at the same point. And I like even with that, they have to learn their opposites, and both have to learn the opposite of the other. You have Aang, who, in order to earthbend, has to learn to face something head on, to be aggressive, to be fearsome, to have no fear, essentially, to really stand up to something. And you have Zuko, who has to learn inner peace, he has to learn calmness, he has to learn taking on his pride. There was a wonderful, what was the quote? Pride is not the solution to shame, it's the cause of it. That's a great line. And so you have them both trying to confront this, and you even have Katara pretty much saying, look, you're essentially right now, you're an airbender, and you're trying to master these other elements, but Earth is the natural opposite, so this is going to be the toughest for you. And I enjoy that. I like that the elements have different philosophies as well as techniques. That airbending is very much about peace and tranquility, and earthbending is very much is very fierce and is a mighty force. So I like that. I thought that was a good setup. You get a little bit more of Zuko trying to come to grips with his past, obviously, although you don't really see any flashbacks. You get a little bit of the uncle. I'm assuming they're going to go more into that later, obviously. But that's about it for the flashbacks. Most of it is just the technique and the philosophy of the technique, which is good. You know, it's with some of this, like with learning the water bending from Katara, you see her sort of say, okay, no, this is a technique, there wasn't really anything. It was more emotions, it wasn't as much the mindset or the philosophy of the technique. So I like they're going more and more into that. They dealt a little bit with it when he was trying to learn firebending, but I like they really dive much more into it with this. And I like the idea. I think people always think everything having to do with either martial arts or certain Asian techniques and philosophies and stuff, it all has to deal with inner peace and inner quiet, and a lot of times it does, but there are times where you have to use that brute force. You know, you're trying to achieve this inner peace to see everything, to see with your eyes unclouded, but at some point you're going to have to confront the harsher things. There's going to be harsher things thrown at you, and you have to be able to throw it back. Well, in fact, that's actually more what the airbending is about. The earthbending is very much not taking it and throwing back, it's actually fighting against it, it's stopping it, it's being just as strong, if not stronger, to defeat it. So I like that. I like learning these sort of the different philosophies of this world that obviously have major philosophies from our world as well. I'm trying to think that there wasn't... I mean, it's not that there's nothing going on this episode, I just can't find a ton to talk about with it. I know I sort of feel bad saying that, but it's the basic technique, and it works. It's nice to take an episode that dives more into the technique. I guess the one thing that I would say I would like done a little different is at the very end, Zuko goes... Well, first of all, I like that the uncle teaches him how to do lightning bending without actually bending any lightning. I like that he says, oh, no, we're not doing that. I'm hoping you'll never have to do that. So now he has the technique, and the hope is that he would never have to do it. I like that. I like that the uncle's teaching him, but he won't actually put him through it necessarily. He has to just trust him that he's good enough to do it. But that's not enough for Zuko. He has to go and he has to climb the mountain. He tries to get the lightning himself, and it looks like he's really coming face to face with his shame, essentially. And again, with sort of Aang is talking about fighting something head on, Zuko is doing something very similar. I would have liked a little longer on top of that mountain, and it's effective. It works. I think it could have been like a major tear-dropping scene, which I'm not saying that like nobody didn't shed a tear in this. I'm sure somebody did, but man, if you added like just another minute, which is a long time in, kids' cartoons. I understand that. I mean, I'm not being like, oh, come on, this was obvious. No, you gotta, it's a compromise. I totally get that. I just wish there was like maybe one more minute on that mountain, just seeing him try to come to grips with it, or just yelling at the mountain, or letting it hit him. I think it probably would have been more effective, but it was still effective. It still worked. Yeah, like I said, sadly, I can't think of too much else to say on this one. It's not by any means a bad episode. It's a good episode to have. Like I said, we get more of the technique. It's just not, wow, holy crap, was that like really, really good. So, but it was decent. It was a decent episode. I can't find too much else to say about it. So, yeah, probably a short one here, but hopefully I'll have more to say on the next one. So I'll see you at there. At the next one. At there. I don't know what that means.